Welcome to qnawire.
All right, we've got an oxygen with two fluorines. Recall that we should put the least electronegative atom in the center, which in this case would be oxygen, right? So OF2. Oxygen is the least electronegative, and that we're going to need a bond to each of these fluorines, right, from the oxygen. Right, so I just like to put the skeletal structure there, and then we can start worrying about filling in the lone pairs. So if we can, count how many electrons we need to have, I see oxygen, which tells us that we're going to need 6, and I see fluorine, which tells us that we're going to need 2 times 7 for each one. That's 14. 6 plus 14 equals 20, so 20 total electrons. We've used 2 here and 2 there. Let's start applying lone pairs and see if that helps. So let's call that 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, we've used all of our electrons, and luckily just applying lone pairs everywhere worked. We didn't have to worry about double bonds. Okay. And now we've got to select all polar covalent bonds. Great. Well, as we kind of determined earlier, oxygen is not as electronegative as fluorine, right? Fluorine is more electronegative. These are clearly covalent bonds because they're sharing a pair of electrons. And now we know that they're polar because fluorine is more electronegative. They point at fluorine, right? Each of these bonds is pointing at fluorine. So if we need to select our polar covalent bonds, that means we need to select this bond and select that